I'm selling to adult collectors, and there are not that many of you. The other thing is that we're making
There are
it
literally dozens of us.
you know, people, everybody I know would buy this. Great. How many? I got 18. I think that's part of it. I think, these are not apples to apples comparison, even for when I'm talking about something like G.I. Joe. So the G.I. Joe reaction figure is probably the thing that we make the most quantity on. And even in then, it's only in, I think, 900 targets across the country, even though there are, 2,000, 2,200 targets?
Oh, really?
900.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I figured they would have been at every target.
Oh, no. There's stuff that only goes to 200 targets. There's stuff that goes to 400 targets. They have all sorts of strata and everything. So we're on the Boys Action shelf in like 900 targets. And people will be like, yeah, you're in Target. I'm like, 900 targets. And you go in there and here's the 4 figures, Cobra, here's the 4 figures, Joe. That means Target ordered 900 of each figure. Like, it's not changing the dynamic of what we're doing immensely, so I think there's just, a core difference. And then, not without talking about, somebody will use another company as a comparison point to what we're doing. And I would say that then you get into some of the stuff that happens in volume, some of the stuff that happens in packaging, some of the stuff that comes in the amount of accessories and paint detailing, and the materials used. I mean, we go out of our way to use really ridiculous kinds of plastics in the joints so that, they don't freeze up or snap, I don't know if you guys have had that before where, it's plastic on plaque. So these are friction fits, but we'll pay for a much more expensive, different kind of plastic to use just in those joints that, you have to do a separate dye lot to make sure it matches because none of the plastics are colored the same, even with the same thing. But it's like, so that slide happens better. Like I don't want to in any way, shape or form be derogatory about anybody else because the other companies making stuff out there are making wonderful stuff and they're really great people. Like this is not a us versus them scenario. It's just that this is the way we make figures and it costs more to make it this way. Like if we did a few things differently, we could bring the price down. But if I'm going to pay this much, I might as well pay for the whole ball of wax and make it as perfect as I can. So when you get it, you're like, oh man, this thing's awesome. You don't hear any reports, and this makes it sound like I'm talking shit about somebody. I'm not. You don't hear any reports about our figures breaking. And if you do, I'm going to replace it because it shouldn't. That meant it was a factory error. Like they don't break. They don't do that. They just function because that's the way they're designed to work. So, it's that sort of thing where, it's a hard sort of weird line on pricing. And if we use ReAction as a perfect example, everybody's like, this shit should be $7.99 at Target. I'm like, fucking 5 POA Star Wars figures haven't been $7.99 at Target in 15 years. That's just what you remember the price.
Yeah. Yep.
The lowest you're going to find is $12.99. Most of the time they're $13.99, sometimes $15.99. Like we're a couple dollars more than these people. We're not that much, but it's your memory of what this is. And then, you get into the same thing. You're like, these are being made by people in China making pennies. And it's like, no one in China is making pennies. Because if everybody was making pennies in China, like all of us would be making millions, and we're not. Like, it's why people are trying to move out of China, not just because of the geopolitical reasons, but because it's too expensive to manufacture in China now. Like, China has gone through its industrial revolution. No one wants to work at a factory anymore. They want an office job. Like, it's no different than Detroit did 50 years ago. Like,
and one of the things I have to say, your reputation precedes you, being transparency, and just appreciate the detail on the answer. I mean, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Look, everyone here, it's like, if I could sell those figures for $29.99, don't you think I would? I'd sell a shitload more of them. Make my life a whole lot easier. But I can't.
Yeah.
This is what it costs for me to make it this way. And I understand that not everyone wants to agree with my choices, or that it makes my figures too expensive for some people. Which, I don't want to be snotty about it, and I don't want to be rude. I want to be empathetic to that. But at the same time, I only get to make this figure once. So I want to make sure it lives up to my expectations. And unfortunately, my expectations are a little expensive.
This next segment is our Q&A segment. So